Auden's Unknown Citizen is one of the well-known poems for its wit and irony. It's an attack upon bureaucratic, totalitarian state and society, which reduces man to a mere cog, a nut or bolt in a big machine. The poem is addressed to the anonymous citizen, and he is compared to a soldier, a martyr, because he is given a tag. He has lost freedom, individuality, because state has reduced him to the level of subhuman. So this poem is a scathing attack upon such a society. The introduction here, The Unknown Citizen, was written in 1940, is one of Auden's most famous poems. It is renowned for its wit, irony, and is complaining about the qualities of bureaucratic societies. Auden wrote this poem at the turning point in his life when he left England for USA and left behind the idea that his poetry could make anything happen in the world. The poet has come to the conclusion poetry makes nothing happen. His early poetry was influenced by left-wing ideology or Marxism or socialism. But his later poetry was abstract, obtuse, and it has a very wide range of form, tone, and imagery. So its structure is that of a satirical elegy, as though the unknown citizen was so utterly unremarkable that the state honored him with a poetic monument about how little trouble he caused for anyone. It resembles the unknown soldier's memorial that nations erect to honor the soldier. This one, in an unnamed location, lists the unknown man as simply JC07M378, some tag for the unknown citizen, very much like the martyr, the soldier in the army. Auden was a gifted craftsman as a poet, writing long, technical, astute poems, but he also embraced the move towards free verse, combining both modern and traditional element in his poem. The human condition was his main focus. The unknown citizen, with its long rambling line and full rhyming and words, has a bureaucratic speaker paying tribute to a model individual, a person identified by numbers and letters only. So he is part of statistical data. It is delivered in, some might say, a boring, monotonous tone, a reflection of the bureaucracy under which the citizen served. The poem is a powerful reminder to us, all of us, that the state, the government, the bureaucracy will all help create and can become faceless, indifferent, and often cruel machine. So in such a society, one can imagine how an individual will enjoy freedom or independence. He becomes a part of faceless humanity, hoi polloi masses. Such is the suffocating fate of individual in the modern society, especially totalitarian society. The state can manipulate and exploit, fake the truth, keeping us all under control without us even knowing. Think of Orwell's 1984 or Huxley's Brave New World. Ideas such as freedom of speech, non-conformism, and individual expression are not entertained in such a society, not even understood. The poem begins with the speaker stating the fact that throughout his life there was never a complaint against the unknown citizen. No one thought badly of him. In fact, he was more like a saint. So the definition of saint has undergone a change. Such a man is considered or treated as saint in the modern society, the bureaucratic setup. He was well liked by his friends, social enough to be normal, and dedicated to his work. The man served the community for his entire life. The only lapse in his work was for his company was when he went to serve in the war, and now after he is dead. That's the fate of the lot of individual. And we now take up the text for analysis. The long rambling line, the title, The Unknown Citizen, the subtitle describes the tag to JC07M378, the marble monument is erected by the state. So he is being treated like a martyr. He was found by the bureaucratic of statistics to be one against whom there was no official complaint. He was an ideal citizen because there was no complaint registered against him by any data collection or data collecting agencies. And all the reports on his conduct agree that in the modern sense of an old fashioned word, he was a saint. So all the reports, they converge on one point, that he had a saintly behavior in his life. So saint is given a new definition, a new meaning. For in everything he did, he served the greater community. Except for the war, till the day he retired, he worked in a factory and never got fired. So this anonymous citizen lived an ideal kind of a life. He was never a non-conformist. But satisfied his employer Fudge Motors enclave. So possibly he was working in Fudge Motors, and his friends and the community was always happy with him. This kind of character is, a faceless character is there at the heart of this poem. We continue with the summary statement. The rhyme scheme changes a few times throughout the poem. Most frequently, the reader notices rhyming couplets. These sometimes use the same number of syllables, but they are not heroic couplets. No, they are not in iambic pentameter lines also. They are often 11 to 13 syllable long or of differing length. So there is no symmetrical structure in the poem. The varying lines are there, varying patterns are there. These patterns increase the only dry humor of the poem. That's the purpose of using a long, rambling line. Auden, the unknown citizen, is not anonymous like the unknown soldier, for the bureaucracy knows a great deal about him. The named agency gave him the sense as early as 1940 that bureaucracy watches over its citizen like Big Brother and collects data on them and keeps it throughout one's life. So increasingly, the state, the government, and the governmental agencies are working against freedom in the society. Free voice is unacceptable, and the informed citizen, they are gagged. There is an increasing sense of suffocation in such a society. So the speaker also said that the man read the newspaper to a sufficient degree. He went to the hospital but left quickly cured, as he should have been. The citizen consumed all that latest technology as modern man should and owned the proper devices. So he has all the electronic gadgets which are needed for creatures' comfort. And he responded to the advertisement in the paper very positively. He never disappointed the advertising agencies. Yet he was not a scab or odd in his view. He was not deranged, lopsided. For his union reports that he paid his dues. So he was a member of the union. Our report on his union show it was sound, and our social psychology workers found that he was popular with his mate and liked a drink. So psychology or social psychology data proves he was very popular with his mates. Another bureaucratic agency reeling out some figures about the unknown citizen. The press are convinced that he bought a paper every day. The press is another pillar of such a society. But think of the free press and you are disappointed, because press also relies upon, or in fact it becomes a mouthpiece of such a society. The press are convinced that he bought a paper every day and that his reaction to advertisement was normal in every way. So he responded to the advertisement and purchased all the devices which are needed for a modern household. Policies taken out in his name prove that he was fully insured. So insurance is another agency which keeps the man pinned down under its clutches. And his health card shows he was once in hospital but left it cured. So health insurance and health card have become the popular bureaucratic devices, and it gives data on your personal life. So one cannot imagine any kind of freedom from these bureaucratic agencies in the modern society. The poem is an attack upon such a society which takes away the freedom of the individual to think, plan, and act. So, a summary now, the authoritarian perspective begins from the very outset of the poem with its evocation of Bureau of Statistics. The man has had every aspect of his life catalogued. He served his community, he held a job, he paid union dues, he did not hold radical views, he reacted normally to advertisement, he had insurance, and he possessed the right material goods. He had proper opinions about current events. They cannot be a reaction to the popular opinion. And he married and had the right number of children. So the state will decide how many children you must have. In fact, he was a saint from the state's perspective, having served the greater community. The word used to describe him normal, right, sensible, proper, popular, indicate that he is considered the ideal citizen. He is praised as unknown because there was nothing interesting in his life. Look at the ring of irony in the word unknown, anonymous. Consider in comparison the completely normalized protagonist Emrys in the Lego movie. So you can compare such a character in the recent movie. In fact, bureaucratic net has widened in the present time. Some citizens are treated as automaton or robots. They are given a chips. They are injected with the chips to see, to restrict their movement, to see that they do not cross, they do not violate the rules. Such a manipulative society, bureaucracy is being attacked in the poem. Both procedure research and high grade living declare. So another bureaucratic institution. He was fully sensible to the advantage of the installment plan. He knew he can take advantage of these plans and buy himself some of the devices or electronic gadgets for his household, and had everything necessary to possess a modern man: a phonograph, a radio, a car, and fridge. The necessities of modern life. And for this, he was paying monthly installments. Our researchers into public opinion are not content that he held the proper opinion for the time of the year. It's another agency, the researchers into public opinion. If there is no end to these agencies, they were recording he was having a proper opinion for the state. In other words, he was a conformist in the true sense. Non-conformism never came to his mind. He was married and added 5 children to the population, which our eugenist says was the right number of parents of his generation. Now, the state decides how many children you must have, and he had the right number dictated by the state. And our teachers report that he never interfered with their education though again administrative educational setup, declares he never questioned the kind of education system was there, because he believed in total conformity to the state policies. And now the closing sections are the closing questions are vital in this section. Was he free? Was he happy? The question is absurd. A scathing attack, don't think of freedom in such a suffocating society. Under the rules of bureaucracy or totalitarian state. Had anything been wrong, we should have certainly have heard. So he was an ideal citizen in every sense. He never reacted badly against the state policies, and he fits into such a social setup. That's why the poet has given him a poetic monument, because he remained one of the prototype, the model of citizenship. And now the summary on the closing stanza. At the end of the poem, the closing couplet asks, was he free? Was he happy? The question is absurd. Had anything been wrong, we should have certainly have heard. With these last lines comes the deeper meaning of the poem, the irony that despite all of the bureaucratic data gathering, some aspect of the individual might not have been captured. It becomes clear that the citizen is also unknown, because in this statistical gathering of data, the man's individuality and identity are lost. They are meaningless, purposeless in such a society, and one should not hope for freedom. This bureaucratic society focuses on its official view of the common good, assesses a person using external, easily catalogued characteristics rather than respect for one's uniqueness. One's particular thought, feeling, hopes, fears and goal are not the concern of the society. Interestingly and ironically, the speaker himself is also the unknown, the professional in the poem, possibly a bureaucrat. His employers, our social psychology workers, our researcher into public opinion, our eugenists are just as anonymous, devoid of personality as the unknown citizen. While a person might be persuaded that he is free or happy, the evidence of his life shows that he is just one more cog in the faceless, nameless, bureaucratic machine. So, man has lost the dignity, the respect, which helps him play the prince in the society. So, modern society has reduced him to the level of a nut or bolt or cog. Thank you.